So he'll get the call for West Michigan here today. First pitch is outside degree real field tonight. All those game time temps courtesy of Ridge Heating and Cooling, ridgeheatandcool.com. 1-2, good to be back home.
I'm sure it feels good to be, not only be back, but be back home, but also, man, that stretch in Peoria with games well above 100 degrees. I mean, it was a long road, those 12 games for West Michigan. It's still hot today, but it's supposed to cool off a little bit. But for multiple reasons, probably feels good to be back.
It kind of feels like that Peoria trip a little bit, I would assume. The 1-2 from Jackson Jobe is roped foul. Eye deep into the grass, pup to the yard. Right down the middle. 97 from Jackson Jobe, one away. His first strikeout on his first batter tonight.
Mound. How effective is that fastball when you're expecting maybe something else at the plate?
Pacheco. And he's better. You may also notice a little bit of a difference to our broadcast presentation here tonight, as this one's popped up a mile high right out in front of the plate. Who wants it? There's Pacheco, and he's got it for out number 2.
It looked over, it's right down the line. There it is. And some of the ballparks, especially in Major League Baseball, it's off center, so it doesn't really give you a true look at how the baseball actually moves. But
no strikes.
There's a handful of Major League teams that have that angle that's right down the middle. I think the Orioles is the one that comes to my mind, but it's just such a great view for the viewer.
Tagged to center field. Seth Stevenson gives Jackson Jobe a 1-2-3 start here on Tuesday.
Up and get the out. And
away, and the Caps are done in the bottom of the first. But they score a run. We're going to the second. A high drive deep in the air to center field. Back goes Sept Stevenson, and it is gone.
Interested
on
in
one pitch, leading. Hang on, boys. We're tied up at 1. Dalton Rushing with his 13th home run of the season. Now Kenneth. It's fouled to come to the plate. You get another look at that shot. There's a strong wind blowing out to center field tonight. We saw that one go off the batter's eye. So now it's Betancourt at the plate. It's fouled away. Friends, did not forget about it. They went. Before the season this year, the Whitecaps auctioned off a chance to come join our broadcast booth, the broadcast booth experience for an evening. And thankfully, our friends did not. That a great story podcast have been kind enough to put that auction item in their back pockets, put it away as Betancourt strikes out for out number 1. And now they join us here tonight with their entire podcast show. Chad, good to see you.
Oh, great to see you, Dan. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We're thrilled to be here. Just a beautiful stadium, wonderful people. We got to interview you earlier on our podcast, as well as Joe Chamberlain. What an amazing story. We're a great story podcast. It's simply amazing. So thank you so much.
Damon Keith bats. Please introduce us to the rest of your crew.
Absolutely. Co-host Rich Schultz. He is the owner of Mediascapes in the Flint area. And we added Phil Rapoon to the show after about episode 12. We had a weekend with Jack Nicholas. We work at the Ally Challenge. We interviewed a gentleman by the name of Scott Tolley, who's his vice president. And Phil jumped in with 2 feet, and we haven't looked back. We just posted our 57th episode today.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
A lot of episodes. And it's so exciting, and it's such a worthwhile effort, especially when you have enough people to collaborate and support you on it. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Damon Keith. 1 out here in the second inning.
Yeah, it's just been so much fun. We've interviewed Drew Miller, Stanley Cup champion. We've had just Ricky Littlejohn, the cowboy that lassoed the cow in the middle of I-75. He was just on our show. Eric Kilburn with the size 23 shoes that got gifted some gear from Shaquille O'Neal. Him and his family came out. So we just had some amazing guests. It's been a blast. We're living our dream.
Damon Keith strikes out, 2 away. A couple of strikeouts for Jackson Jobe, and it leaves it up to Nick Biddison. So Remind me of your story, as you guys are, of course, the curators of A Great Story, the podcast, but you have a pretty interesting backstory as well. You've recently gone into doing some play-by-play.
Yeah, I have actually. So when COVID happened, a lot of the stadiums in the high school areas were closed, and I'm from the Goodrich area, and there was only one parent that was allowed. So the whole town comes out for these games. Well, at that, my son had graduated as a captain after his senior year, and I just kind of stuck around the team. Well, we had a live stream going so people could watch, and I was in the booth doing the stats, and there basically was on an iPad with a microphone. I was like, hey, do you want me to do some play-by-play? I've always loved play-by-play. We have so much in common. And they said yes, thankfully, and we started broadcasting our live stream, and then we just built a following, and it's just grown. So we're on our 4th football season. We've done 3 basketball seasons, and then I'm talking over your broadcast. I apologize.
No, this is fun. I enjoy this. First the 1-2 to bid us, and it's a foul away. Go ahead.
And when I read your article, Dan, about how you were, you got your dream job to call a Tigers game, it really inspired me. I reached out to the Flint in the Flint area, Mott Community College, 4-time national championship, their basketball team. So I reached out to them. I was inspired by what you did, and I got hired as their broadcast sportscaster for the men's and women's team. So Steve Schmidt is their coach, Hall of Famer, and he's 796 career wins. So it's just an absolute honor to be now the voice of the Bears. So I have you to thank for that, Dan.
It's so much fun to see this sort of thing happen. This one shot to right field. It's playable for Brady Allen, and he puts it.
So let's start, 'cause you've got an awfully
Earn more when you save and pay less when you borrow. LMCU's Max Checking Account offers 3% average percentage yield on balances up to $15,000. That's nearly $450 a year with no monthly maintenance fees. Open an account.
Let's go into the 3rd inning. 1-1 tie here in West Michigan. Max Hewitt against Jackson Jobe. Welcome back, everybody. Huge thanks to our friend Chad Toms, as well as Rich Schultz and Phil Rapoon of the Great Story podcast. We'll catch up with them coming up in inning number 4. This one's roped in a right, a base hit for Max Hewitt. And that's what leads off the top half of the 3rd. I've got not one, but 2 guests now joining us here in our broadcast booth. And of course, it is Dog Day presented by our friends at Bissell. But not only do we end up seeing Brittany Schlachter, the marketing and public relations specialist for Bissell, the Pet Foundation, but also she brought her dog. And I'm so excited because Zara's here. Hi, good to see you again.
Hi, so great to see you. Zara is here. She's probably more excited than any dog out there.
You can kind of see her a little bit at the very bottom of your screen. That's Zara. How old is Zara?
She is 4. I adopted her from West Michigan Humane Society 4 years ago when she was a puppy, and she is the best spokes dog for adoption.
And you know what? It wouldn't happen any other way.
No, not at all. She loves doing this with me too.
0-2 on Jake Vogel, but in the sense that you rescued her. I mean, that is just such a game changer. We have a rescue dog. We've had a couple different rescue dogs, and just knowing the need for that, and of course that's a whole nother above and beyond conversation. But this is the way to do it.
Absolutely. Well, and she rescued me too. That's how it always works. I'm sure you know that.
Not the first time I've heard it. Swing and a miss. Down goes Vogel, and there's out number 1. Another strikeout for Jackson Jobe. Give him 4 punch-outs in 2 1/3 innings. Back to the top of the order, and Chris Lean. So, tell me a little bit about the Bissell Pet Foundation. Remind us what it does.
Well, we are a national animal welfare organization. We're housed right here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but we have a nationwide impact, and our goal is to end pet homelessness. So we're helping shelters and rescues do that. We have a variety of programs. So spay, neuter, obviously very important, gets to the heart of, pet homelessness. Vaccination, microchipping, we do disaster and crisis response. And I'm sure that you know that we also have our incredible Empty the Shelters event, and that we're just helping pets get adopted.
Strike 1 on a lean. And how often do you do the Empty the Shelters event? Because I know that those are pretty successful for you guys.
Yeah, it's the nation's largest funded adoption event, which is amazing. So we have them quarterly, national, but we also work with shelters and rescues. When they are full and they're in crisis, they're going to reach out to us, and we're going to sponsor reduced adoption fees to help as many pets as possible go home.
Can I tell you, I wish my dog was as calm as Zara right now because she is absolutely crushing it. She's laying down on the floor next to you.
Well, okay, I have to admit, they did say, like, is she going to be good in the booth? Is she going to be well behaved? She's the best dog. I'm so lucky. And she gets to come to work with me every day, so I think that helps.
She gets to come back anytime, as do you. So tell me a little bit about that adoption event, because I know what the premise is, but what kind of experience is that?
Well, you know, we have participating shelters across the country. Most of them are right here in Michigan, but typically we have about 300 shelters that participate. And Bissell Pet Foundation pays to sponsor reduced adoption fees. So you,
Nice.
yeah, you can bring home a pet for just $50 or less. That is spayed or neutered, vaccinated, and microchipped, which is a great deal. So it's raising awareness for all the incredible adoptable pets that are waiting in shelters right now. And it's an exciting time. Shelters are so full. We need to get them home. So it's perfect. And one is coming up. I can't announce the dates just yet, but stay tuned to Bissell Pet Foundation's social media. And in just a few weeks, we're going to tell you.
Just amazing just how many different, not just pets' lives that you've impacted, but people's lives you've impacted. Because for every pet, there's at least 1, 2, 3, maybe more people that you affect on top of that.
Yeah, you know, we've impacted the lives of, 665,000 pets, and that means even more families, right? And being able to not only sponsor reduced adoption fees, but also help people who, might not be able to afford spay or neuter or microchipping their pet or vaccinations, it makes such a difference, and it keeps pets in homes so they never end up in the shelter to begin with.
As an aside, this has to just be some of the most rewarding work, right?
I have the best job ever. I'm sure you feel the same way about your job.
I do.
But it is the best job ever. And the coolest thing is that when you donate to Bissell Pet Foundation, 100% of your donation supports our life-saving programs, because our friend Bissell, they cover our administrative fees and our employee salaries. So it's a great reason to give.
All right, so tell people how they can support you, what you do, and the mission you have.
Well, you can make a donation to Bissell Pet Foundation at our website, bisselpetfoundation.org. You can, there's so many ways to give. We have, monthly donors, all types of, cryptocurrency donations. But we also at Bissell Pet Foundation just want you to visit your local animal shelter too. You can make a difference there as well, whether you adopt, you donate to your local animal shelter, or you foster. And right now, we need as many fosters and adopters as possible. Shelters across the country and here in Michigan are at critical capacity.
Alex Freyland-Batts, the 0-2 is just a little outside. Didn't miss by much. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And, on top of that, if you're not sure about adoption, fostering is a great way to learn whether or not you're ready for that.
It is the best way. Okay, and the shelter pays for everything. They pay for the food, they send you home with toys, you don't have to worry about vet bills, and you get to kind of try a pet before it's permanent, and you're getting these pets out of the shelter and opening up critical space. You're socializing them, you're getting them, the love and attention that they need, and honestly, it's the most rewarding thing you could ever do. I would say it's even more rewarding than adopting.
And it's something that I think, a lot of people, and I will say this, by just going, I think you've learned that you might feel a little bit different about it just by being in that space. Sometimes you don't know if you're ready, you don't know. But then once you get there and you have that chance to meet, you have that chance to connect, it's a game changer.
Our founder, Kathy Bissell, always says that it changed her life. I mean, she started the foundation because she adopted her first dog. So the goal is to get people to just visit their shelter. Even if you aren't planning to adopt or foster or even volunteer, just go meet the pets that they have available. And I know you're going to change your mind on, the next steps after that.
Gets me thinking about times when I went to different shelters to go look, and some of the almost adoptions that we had. We of course were always so tempted in those situations. Freyland goes too far. That's strike 3 for out number 3. But
Here in the top of the 4th, he's only given up 1 run, deadlocked at 1 here in game 1 of the 6-game stretch. Lockwood Powell takes a strike outside edge. No balls and 1 strike. Welcome Chad Toms back onto the broadcast. Lockwood Powell takes a little bit low and outside, makes it 1 ball and 1 strike. So Dan said welcome the first time around. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely.
This is so much fun. It's just a wonderful. The stadium's beautiful. The people are great. Your staff is just out of this world.
They're great.
Yeah, what a great organization.
Yep, very welcoming. I'd say that probably my favorite part about this job, though, is the view where we get to sit, because it truly is. It's the best seat in the house from where we are up here. So I definitely think that this is a really good spot to be in.
Well, we were able to interview Dan today on our Great Story podcast. I think we got to do a part 2 and have the Nate Wangler story. Got to hear your backstory.
Oh, you want to hear my story? Okay.
So we'll have
it's
to
a
book
winding road. It might take longer than 2 innings to get all down.
Well, you'll have to come on our show to do it then.
All right, perfect.
Give us a reason to come back out.
No, but he did mention that you were getting into play-by-play a little bit, and I started at the high school level too once upon a time, and it's interesting nowadays. More and more teams are starting to stream their games. I mean, that's kind of becoming the thing now with, having the capability to show it on video and do the live streams on YouTube and everything like that. So I thought that was cool because I could relate to your story a little bit in that way. This one grounded towards second, thrown on to first, one away.
Yeah, it's surprising that more teams don't do that.
Right.
We broadcast at Goodrich. We have a Hall of Fame head coach, Tom Allward. He was actually the first player signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
And he's been the Goodrich coach for going on 30 years now. And we broadcast on NFHS, and it's a live stream. And it's really tough to watch a game when there's not a play-by-play because it's not as fluid and you got the multiple cameras. No, it's a straight just a shot. And if you're watching it on your phone or your TV, you don't know what's going on. So you need someone to kind of bring it to life.
Yeah.
Well, one of the tricky things with that too is the licensing with the music. I noticed with our high school where my son goes, the PA guy does a great job with in-game entertainment.
Sure.
But come the
Wipes us out.
NFHS coverage, it's gone.
Yeah, so what we do is as soon as the game is over, we're wrapping up our broadcast. I literally go on the app and I just screenshot and record every touchdown, as many as I can get, and just try to preserve the call. And I send it out to the families and tag the kids on social media. They love it. Send it to college coaches. And but yeah, you lose that as soon as it's over, so it's kind of sad. So we're like kind of frantic to try to save it.
This one also a ground out to second base. So 2 outs here to start the fourth. Kenneth Betancourt will dig in with 2 away. I do think it's important the kids' side of it for them, being able to attach those calls to the plays and then share those moments with them. I think that's really, really important. But the broadcasting side of it too, and I'm sure you figured this out as you've gone, it's a lot about storytelling. And even at the high school level with your podcast, a Great Story podcast, there's always a story to be told, even with sports. So I think that's another special aspect about play-by-play that I'm sure even ties into your podcasting that you do.
Yeah, 100%. We broadcast to our hometown fans, but every single game there's a visiting team that is listening to that broadcast. So I try to be as much of a homer as I am. I try to be neutral, and I want to bring the game to everybody. And just not talk about our kids. There's players on the other team that are trying to get college offers and that are doing great things. So just try to make it an experience where they enjoy it.
A little bit of that theater of the mind.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
And this is where I give you so much credit doing this day in, day out. It's a career, and you got to be on point. You got to know what you're going to say and what you're going to cover, all the stats. And there's so much behind the scenes just to make it special for your viewers. And that's what I like to do when I'm calling a game. I really want it to be a memorable.
Ball Network continuing to roll along in this one. Caps again just a half game out of the lead in the East as Keith gives one a ride to center. It's deep, it's trouble, and it's gone. Up onto the...
He launched that. We're really impressed with the whole organization, but just the players, they're out there,
pick to come. So the Loons are the Dodgers high A affiliate. So this was a team who actually had the second best record in all of minor league baseball in the first half. And I feel like routinely year after year they produce guys, but not easy to hit home runs in this ballpark, specifically not to that section.
And you do have a strong breeze out to center, so I'm sure that helps. But
that helps a little bit.
Well, hopefully the Whitecaps can get back on top here, get out of the inning, and put some runs across. These are important games. Everybody we've talked to has just mentioned you must have had a team meeting today because every single person was like, all right, this is just a crucial homestand.
The understanding of what we have to do. And, of course, it's anxious because you're kind of relying on other teams to lose at the same time, but you can really only control what you can, which is going out and winning baseball games. So a couple of close calls over the last weeks, but it's a team that's been able to turn it around in the second half, that's for sure.
Well, we just want to say thank you to not only Dan and to Joe Chamberlain, but Lynn Torrey, your director of marketing. She fielded this crazy cold call from a guy from a Great Story podcast and said, hey, she actually answered the phone. We had a good conversation, and she said yes. So we want to thank Lynn for the opportunity to make that all happen. And I think I parlayed the the fundraiser to be in the booth. And then Leah Austin, she was helped coordinate our seats.
She's great.
She's
my favorite.
So yeah, so just your team is just great people. We're on cloud nine.
For you guys, though, you know, with it's kind of a unique angle that you have, because people always ask, so what's your podcast about? That's the number one question I feel like you get, because I had my own personal one for a while, and obviously we had the Road to Detroit podcast. But for you guys, it's a great story podcast. You go stories about what? Is it sports? Is it life? And it's pretty much everything.
I mean, we had Drew Miller, Stanley Cup champion. He talked about how the night he won the Stanley Cup, it was with the Anaheim Ducks. He dented it. He was in a bar and he was raised over his head and hit the ceiling. You know, but it doesn't have to be a Stanley Cup champion. We had Eric Kilbert. He was the size 23 shoes as a 15-year-old in Goodrich, made national news. Like I mentioned earlier, Ricky Littlejohn. He lassoed a cow in the middle of I-75 and went viral. We had him on the show. We had King George. It was if you've seen that cut from the Wings, where they zoomed in on his birthday, and then they showed the other fans, and everyone's booing. So we reached out and we had his dad on. We actually videoed that interview, and we got to get that video up, because he was just, we thought it was going to be this really quiet kid. He was bouncing off the walls. So we just had, everybody has a great story. That's the basis of our podcast.
Clemens and Roger Clemens on the same episode, father-son episode, talking about, I mean, just stuff from his childhood and just when he got in trouble and all these other random little things. And they always really work out, and people love hearing stuff like that. And it's what makes our job special. This one smacked into right field. Back on it is Allen to make the catch for out number 3. We'll actually see